So great. So you got some views as we go along. We are a bit ahead of time, which is good. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the next top tips from our friends at Digibete. And then we'll have a look at some of the lovely questions and comments that are coming in the chat box before we take a little bit of a break. So without further ado, let's this time hear from Digibete what children and young people are talking about CGM and flash monitoring. So over to you guys.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Albie.
And we both have type 1 diabetes.
I'm Jaya and I'm 14 years old and I have type 1 diabetes.
I'm Millie, I'm 11 and I was diagnosed nearly 6 years ago.
Hello, my name is Benji, I'm 14 and I've been on the sensor for a year now. So this is my sensor and it works through Bluetooth and it sends what my blood sugars are into my phone.
I use the Libra to test my blood glucose levels. I have a sensor on my arm and I scan it with this and it will tell me what my blood glucose levels are.
I have an app on my phone that tells me all my numbers and it tells me whether I'm going high or whether I'm going low.
Other people can see what my blood sugars are with relevant time and they can see what's going on.
We don't have to finger prick every time we want to eat. We can just look at our phone.
It also sends alarms whenever I go high, if I go low.
I think the CGM's great. It sometimes can lose signal, but that only happens if it's coming towards the end of when you need to change it, or it could be the CGM itself, it could have been gone in wrong, but it reads your blood sugars really accurately.
This piece of kit is so important because it saves me the hassle of finger pricking and so much sore fingers.
So if my blood sugars are going high at a rapid speed, it will show a double arrow going up. If my blood sugars are only going a little bit high, it will just show an arrow going diagonal. If they're stable, they'll go across, and obviously, if they start going down, they'll go diagonally down. And then if I go really low at a rapid speed, it will show 2 arrows going down.
The sensor changes don't hurt at all. You feel it stick to your skin and then you feel like a tiny tickle, but that's it. It doesn't hurt at all.
Well, it makes things easier, so I know what my patterns are, and obviously just generally how can I improve and manage my diabetes way more easier.
Yeah, the CGM saves me from a lot of hypos, and it also helps living a really healthy life with type 1.
I think these are absolutely great. They help me cope with my diabetes so much and they work so well and it's just a lot easier.
The CGM has been really important and I'd strongly recommend it to anybody who can get it, and if you can't get it, make sure to ask your clinic because it does help with my life. It essentially enables me to live a normal life and help me live comfortably.
Thanks for watching.
Hope this has been helpful.
Thank you, Digibete. And those of you who are maybe aware that we have a digital platform for all young people and their parents with type 1 diabetes. Digibete is the platform that we use up to the age group of 18. After that, we got My Diabetes My Way. You, of course, can also use Diabetes UK's Learning Zone. Now, what we do have is the amazing fact that we're a bit ahead of time, which is good. We will try and stick to the time, but what I'll do is I've been sent lots of messages about what are in the chat box. So we'll try and pick a few of them up and make a few comments, but I also wanted to take this opportunity, which we didn't do at the very beginning, which is really bad of me in particular, is to acknowledge some of the people who have worked so hard to make this happen. So Claire Howard, thank you very much for all the organizing, all the arrangement, fantastic. And this is such an amazing feat to do. And of course, I've got from the background, I've got Rachel Martin sending me all the chats and stuff and keeping me updated. So it makes me look a little bit more professional than actually what I'm managing to do. So some comments, and I'll pick up some of the themes that have come through. For example, I think Rose's talk has touched a chord with a lot of people. How do you deal with it, etc. As I said, lots of resources out there. Follow Rose on Twitter, etc. It might be quite useful for you to pick up some of the ideas there. One of the other things that has come up is the issues, and I'll take one particular questions about regular diabetes checks post-pandemic. I was told retinal screening has been moved from annually to 18 to 24 months due to backlog. That's not correct. This was actually done pre-pandemic. There is very good evidence about which group of people should have annual checks, which group should have 2-yearly checks. So this is not just pushed back because there's a backlog. There is a backlog. And as you would expect, we've had a pandemic where we were not supposed to meet each other. So our primary care colleagues or our hospital colleagues were very clearly told by everybody concerned, quite rightly too, if you think of all the impact on the healthcare staff and spreading of infection, that they were not supposed to be doing that, and they haven't. And our job has been to try and catch up. So there's a big work to be done, but I can assure you there's a lot of effort being put into that. And I also, as ever, will thank my primary care colleagues or my specialist colleagues for putting in all the hard work. I mean, the pandemic has been tough for everybody concerned. While our GP colleagues have led on the vaccination programs, we have sort of tried to manage the wards. It's been tough, and it's not done yet, and we get the feeling sometimes it's all wrapped up and finished. It's not quite. So we still have admissions, we still have cases, but it's definitely in a better space than where we were. So just to make you aware of that. Inequalities. What happens to those who can't fight? Fantastic question. And I think what we're doing now is we're setting up a very clear strand about what do you do about exactly those groups of people? Is it the responsibility of the system and the clinician to reach out to people who may not be as vocal as somebody else? What do they do if they're said, well, you can't have this technology, and they go like, you know what, I don't want to have that debate, I don't want to have that argument, enough of that, and you walk away. So there's a big push to make sure, and I think rest assured that is something that I have picked up with the team as a major focus, because the Libra journey, for want of it, has been we have got where we wanted to. I think there's much more to do, but I think right now is the time to focus a lot on inequalities. And I would stress the point that deprivation is not as simple binary as ethnicity. There is a lot of children out there who are come from a white background, who also come from very poor background. So the work has to be separate, deprivation and ethnicity. There'll be intersections between the two, but they're separate. They're not one or the other. So I do get, understandably, a lot of queries from parents saying that, what about children who come from poor backgrounds who may be white? So do not worry, nobody's going to be ignored. That is a fundamental piece of work which we're doing with pediatric teams, adult teams as we go forwards. What else is there? Access, yes, we are aware access is an issue, and we are trying and working really hard. Access, the gap to access is not just simply, there are many parts to it, and as somebody has mentioned, it's about people who don't ask loudly. There's the issue of clinicians not being ready or not being in the right headspace. There's the issue of funding and finances. And I've always asked this question, why doesn't everybody get X or Y? I think the appreciation is that we are a tax-funded system. So we have to, I wouldn't say justify, but you are fighting for within a certain pot of money. So as obvious as it sounds, is that if we want to put money into technology right now, then the ask is, well, what are you going to stop? And the absolute right view is that, but it will give you the benefits in the years ahead. The problem with the NHS and the structure in which it works, we always struggle to know what we get as committed going forwards, and all commissioners will tell you. So that's the struggle we have. How do you put the money in now? And the document or the battle we have had with Libra is well recognized, for example. The other issue I would also make is about insulin pumps. And there's some really good work done by a lot of people concerned about highlighting the gaps. Pumps have been available for many, many years, but we still haven't quite picked up as much. Why is that? Is that the money? Not necessarily, because it's under what we call NICE technology appraisal, so it's mandatory funding. But a lot of people haven't got it. Sometimes it's lack of choice. And I think, as Judith mentioned, we are coming to a point whereby we want to have one pathway for the whole country. Easier said than done, even though it sounds like, why won't you? It's that battle that we have in the NHS between what's central and what's local, etc., and we go from there. So that's just another point to make. What else have I got? What about menopause and impacts on management insulin resistance? A very good point. And I think there's a very good point, a very good points made by people like Ann Cooper and others that, we don't have enough research focused on that area. It's very sort of skewed. So that is something which we are working with our partners to see what we can do to, without the research, without the data, we can't sort of invest. So that's something that we keep on looking at. And finally, what else can I say? Allergies keep popping up and impacts on what people can use. Yes, again, there is, just like the analogy I use is like sticking plasters, adhesives that we have. That's got about a 4% rate of allergies. So you have the same issues with companies and doing what they do. So that is something that we work with companies to see what else they can use to sort of lessen the amount of allergies. Something we work with MHRA, which is a governing body, to do that. So that's pretty much been the themes that have come through. Keep those comments coming, keep those views coming. And I think it's fair to say so far, we have had a fantastic morning. I mean, we started off with obviously Rose giving her views about the impact on emotional health. We've had some tips from Digibete about technology. You've heard the really tough story of Gracie. And I think that should be an eye-opening thing for many clinicians. I have always liked to practice medicine in the way that what would happen if it was to my parent or my child? And you don't want anybody to go through that. So we need to try and see what we can do to prevent that happening. And, this is not just the story of one child. This happens in a lot of people, a lot of adults as well. So then you heard from Judith giving the view about the clinician as to how we can work together to increase access tech. And I think it's also important to take a pause and look back that if you look at data sets that are out there right now, if you take children, age group of 0 to 18, nearly up to 70% have either got a Libra or a standard Dexcom or a standard CGM. So we're getting there. I mean, there's a lot still to be done. Pumps in children are around about at 40%. In adults, it's closing to 20%. Much room to maneuver. But I think it's fair to say we've got a major focus on it. It's moving in the right direction, and we need all the help we can from yourselves to sort of make it happen too. And finally, you have some more tips from Digibete. So what we do have now is a bit of a screen break. So instead of 5 minutes, you get 10 minutes, which is fantastic. So, take your break, have a cup of coffee, tea, whatever, take a little break. Love to see you back here again at 11:25 and some amazing talks. You've got the whole thing about pregnancy coming up. Then you got, views from other people living with diabetes. So come back, 11:25. We'll see you then. 10 minutes break and see you in a bit.